To the panelists, to our course professor, good day. I am Nicrosel Elocray.
I am Yumilka T. Lucero.
I am Raisel M. Tadranes.
I am Chriselle Kyle T. Navarro.
And I am Jean Peterson.
And we are the researchers. Today, we are going to present our proposed study entitled Levels of Satisfaction of Learners with Autism in the New Normal Education. We pursue to conduct this study because we believe that this study is relevant and will leave significance, especially that we had a paradigm shift in the educational setting from face-to-face education to a technology-driven education, so-called the New Normal Education. In this New Normal Education, our coping mechanisms has been challenged. Both teachers and students has continuously been coping with this kind of educational setting. With this, we tend to forget to look at others' lens, which may struggle more than us or had been nurtured even more in this kind of educational setting, like that of the learners with autism, which satisfaction can be measured in this kind of educational setting. Chapter 1. The Problem and its Setting. To discuss the background of the study, we have Ms. Lucero.
Background of the study. In this new normal education, everyone is unfamiliar and has a hard time to cope with these major changes in the educational modality and educational setting. Having said that, the learners with autism may either be satisfied, dissatisfied, or anything in between in the new normal education. Therefore, it is rightful to conduct a study to which the levels of satisfaction of the learners with autism is proven considering the learning domains cognitive, affective, and psychomotor in the new normal education. As stated by Kahapay M. 2020 in the article, How Filipino Parents Home Educate Their Children with Autism During COVID-19 Period, the United Nations Human Rights has expressed concern that while the crisis has threatened access of learners to education, persons with disabilities, including those with autism, are disproportionately affected due to ecological constraints that are replicated in the pandemic reaction. As such, efforts to improve home education modalities for children with disabilities have been exerted. For example, the National Disability Right Network has compiled accessible resources of online instructional strategies amid school interruptions. It is hoped to assist parents as they educate their children with disabilities while safely staying at home. According to Bulurian Y et al. 2019, for the teachers in public schools, one of the weaknesses of the new normal in the Philippine education is the difficulty to monitor, feedback, and assess learning. These difficulties are tried to address by the Department of Education by continuously issuing the orders and memoranda to guide teachers. Just recently, the Department of Education issued DepEd Order No. 31 Series of 2020 as a guide in assessing and grading learners in the light of COVID-19 pandemic. Though the order provides clear and specific guidelines on how to assess and grade learners, teachers are still experiencing problems with monitoring, feedbacking, and assessing student learning due to several gaps such as communication, technology, and students' socioeconomic status.
Next, to present the statement of the problem, we have Ms. Tadranes.
Statement of the problem. This research aims to determine the levels of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education through cognitive, affective, and psychomotor learning domain. Specifically, it sought to answer the following questions. Number 1. What is the socio-demographic profile of the respondents in terms of age, gender, and socio-economic status? Under the cognitive learning domain, what is the level of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education in terms of cognitive learning domain? Under the psychomotor domain, what is the level of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education in terms of psychomotor learning domain? Under the affective domain, what is the level of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education in terms of affective learning domain? And lastly, is there a significant difference between the socio-demographic profile of the respondents in terms of cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain?
Next is the research hypothesis. The hypotheses of this study are the following. Number 1. The learners with autism are not satisfied with the new normal education considering the learning domain, namely cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. Number 2. There is a significant difference between the socio-demographic profile of the respondents in terms of cognitive, psychomotor, and affective domain. Next, the importance of this study will be presented by Ms. Navarro.
Importance of the study. This research aims to determine the levels of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education. Having said that, by conducting this research, this would benefit the following. Learners with autism. This study will be significant to learners with autism for them to access their skills and performances in the education given this unusual education due to the pandemic. Hence, the learners will determine to which areas to improve. Teachers. This study is important because it will serve as a record on how teachers are satisfied in executing the principle of learning in the new normal education. Also, this study will help the teachers to be aware of the most effective educational intervention and reinforcements that are appropriate, not just limited for learners with autism, but also to learners within the scope of special and inclusive education. School administration. This study will efficiently suggest appropriate educational strategy, methodologies, and pedagogies to cater the learners with autism in the educational setting. Parents. This study will help the parents or guardians in guiding and assisting learners with autism towards the learner's greatest potential and excellence in academics. Future researchers. This study will help the future researchers to lend and present new ideas with the aim to further expand the knowledge imparted by this study. The idea presented may be used as the reference data in conducting new study or in testing the validity of either related finding. Moreover, this may serve as a reliable and relevant source being a related literature and related studies of future researchers' topics that are interrelated to this study.
Next, the scope and the limitation will be discussed by Ms. Torzar.
Scope and the limitation. This research focuses on levels of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education. The respondents of this research will be 100% population of the learners with autism in 1M Alberto Memorial Elementary School or JMS. It delimits that the study may not be generalizable to other populations or youth who are not distinguished as learners with autism.
Chapter 2. Review of related literature and studies. Synthesis of the related literature and studies. Researchers on the related literature presents that learners with autism are challenged to cope with the transition upon the typical educational approach to the new normal education implemented for the education to operate despite the occurrence of COVID-19 pandemic. Based from the related materials found and provided, a gap is discerned that no study embarked upon the same research that the study is all about. Chapter 3. Research Design and Methodology.
Research design. This study will use descriptive method of research. As per the principle of descriptive method of research, the researchers will collect data regarding the levels of satisfaction of learners with autism in the new normal education. Afterwards, the data will be analyzed, prepared, and presented in anchored on a theoretical basis. Quantitative methodology will be applied in this study, for this study has variables that are quantifiable, hence, quantitative methodology can be justified the purpose of this study.
Sources of data. 1. M. Alberto Memorial Elementary School, JMOMES, is the only school in Catanduanes that has a specialized curriculum that accommodates learners with special needs in the general education. Thus, using the learners with autism in JMOMES will be reliable, useful, and relevant in this study. The total population of learners with autism is 28.
Sampling procedure. Proposing sampling procedure aims to gather information from the desired percentage of the participants in a certain population size, wherein the researchers will use the total population sampling under the umbrella of proposing sampling procedure. All the learners with autism currently enrolled on the master list of the learners with autism in the JMS school year 2021-2022.
Instrumentation and validation. As far as data collection tools were concerned, the conduction of the research involved the use of structured questionnaire that underwent the process of reliability tests in a form of test-retest as a primary source of data collection method, which is also guided by conduction of informal interview among the respondents to supplement the responses of the respondents. The said questionnaire will use Likert scale with the determinants very satisfied, satisfied, neither satisfied nor satisfied, dissatisfied, and very dissatisfied.
Interpretation of data. To interpret the data effectively, the researcher will employ the following statistical treatment. First, the percentage. This will employ to determine the frequency counts and percentage distribution of the variable of the respondents. With a given formula, percentage equals frequency over the total number of respondents multiplied by 100, which is a constant value. Second, the weighted mean, which has the formula summation of weighted value over the summation of weight. In other words, each weight will be multiplied by its matching value. Second, the weighted mean, which has the formula the summation of weighted value over the summation of weight. In other words, each weight will be multiplied by its matching value, which answers will be summed up and will be divided by the sum of weight. Third, the research will employ the statistical treatment ANOVA, specifically the one-way ANOVA test, which has the formula frequency equals MST over MSE.
That ends our presentation.
Thank you and God bless.